Morning, y'all. Kenny here again this morning. You already know what it is. I'm getting ready to work out. And as this pre-workout starts to kick in, this is always kind of like my time that I start thinking. And I start thinking about what I got going on today, what my goals are for the day, and just, what I'm wanting to get done that makes me better than what I was yesterday. And I know we got a lot of new people in the group. I know we got a lot of new agents. And I know we don't, I know not everybody's got 15 years of sales experience like I do or Drew or whatever. So the one thing that I wanted to kind of share with you all this morning that's really helped make me successful, and anybody that I've ever trained, anybody that I've ever hired, and anybody that I've ever fired, I've done my absolute best to beat this into their head. And it's structure. And what do you mean by that, Kenny? What are you talking about, structure? Okay, so when you go through your guided startup, the one thing you're going to see is you're going to see Rob Jones and Michael Kite, and you're going to see them making appointments, right? You're going to see them going through the calls. Those are live calls. The client's name is bleeped out, so their medical history is not, all over YouTube, right? The same thing, if you sit there and, if you're watching the videos on how to run those appointments, I think with Bill Martin, right? There's a structure to that. And if you're not doing that with your appointments, you're going to have a very, very low close ratio because you're not setting your client up for the kill. You're not setting them up for the close. Guys, understand, a couple of days ago I talked in a video about having swagger. Understand that you are the professional. You are the one that has the knowledge. The client, by filling the form out, is saying, please share your knowledge with me. We need your help. We need your services. Okay? Guys, that client filling that form out is no different than you being on autotrader.com, finding a car you love, and sending your information to the dealer for them to call you about stock number ABC123. Okay? You really shouldn't be surprised if you don't get a phone call from that dealer trying to sell you the car that you just said that you were interested in buying. Okay? And it's the same thing with these forms, but you've got to have the structure because you can have a million leads, but if you don't know how to close them, then it doesn't matter if you got 5 million leads because you don't know what to do with it, right? So the one thing that I done before I really hit the field hard was I watched those videos. I watched how to make the appointment. I watched how to run the appointment. I watched it. I mean, I would say I've easily watched both of them 100 plus times, maybe even more than that, because I've walked through them again with some of my downline. No bullshit, no filter. I've got 15 years of sales experience, and I got my face punched in a few times. I got my face kicked in a few times, trying to do it my way, because honestly, I'm an old dog at this point, right? I was like, man, I got 15 years of sales experience. I don't need to watch these bullshit videos, right? I can promise you, what it takes to be successful in the insurance industry is significantly different than what it takes to be successful in retail sales or to be successful in car sales. And the reason I know is because I've done both, right? I sold cars for 6, 7, 8 years, something like that, and I was in retail sales, commission-based sales for 9, 10 years. And I can promise you that cars is different from retail, is different from financial services. I can promise you that. So if you're not watching those videos, you're doing yourself a disservice, and you're doing yourself a disservice to your client. So I cannot preach to you enough the importance of those videos. And here's the other thing you got to think about. Guys, if they wasn't helpful to us, one, they wouldn't take the time to record them. 2, they wouldn't take the time to post them. And 3, I guess it kind of goes with 2, they wouldn't share it with the world, right? So obviously they believe in what they're putting out. And I can personally attest to how that works. You can ask Drew. I have an insanely high close ratio. Now, we're not talking about Kenny bought 100 leads and Kenny scheduled 30, 32 leads, 35 leads. That's not the close ratio I'm talking about. I'm talking if I have you in front of me, I'm walking out the door with an app 6 to 7 out of 10 all day. All day. Ain't none of that 2 out of 10 bullshit, 3 out of 10 bullshit. Ain't none of that. Because I structure it. I follow the script. At this point, I've got it memorized. Okay? But, you know, you need to sit down with your client and you need to let them know that you know, you got it going on, you got your stuff together, and you're here to help them. So the way I kind of start with everything is, you know, of course, we'll just do some general building. Hey, how are you? How's the weather? Blah, blah, blah. How's life, right? Whatever. You know, love your truck, beautiful home you got here. Love your purse, love your earrings, right? Get them talking about themselves. And so once we finally get into that, I'll say, okay, now listen. Like I said, my name is Kenny Richmond, and you know, I'm the field underwriter that you spoke with over the phone. You know, I've been at this for a few years, whatever, blah blah blah, and I'm gonna go as I work through this review with you. Understand that I am gonna ask some questions that are kind of personal in nature, but it's not to be nosy. It's just to kind of get an idea of what you got going on here at the house. But as I work through these questions, if anything kind of hits you, you know, that you need to ask me, feel free to interrupt me. I'll answer your questions quickly and honestly. Is that fair enough? And of course, they're going to be like, well, yeah. And so one of the very first things I ask that client is, why did you fill this form out? What made you reach out to me? And guys, you're going to get a gamut of answers to this. They're going to say, well, you know, I was just curious. Curious to what? I was curious how much it was going to cost. Okay, well, fair enough. But I can also promise you that if they're curious to what it's going to cost, that's also telling you that they're curious because they need more than they have. You know, think about it, guys. I mean, if you have DirecTV or Dish Network, right, and you've got every channel, are you calling about the promotion? Probably not, because there's nothing more that they can offer you. But if you've just got the beginner's package, it's maybe, you know, 40 channels for $40, and you've noticed that there's a show that comes on that you love, but it's always on the channel that you don't have, that's probably why you're going to call in, is because there's something there that they have that you may want or need. And it's the same thing with this form. They may already have coverage, but they may need more, and that concern is there. So, you know, ask them that question, because they're telling you why they reached out to you. Okay, they're telling you this. And what I've done, and I'll share it with anybody who wants to comment in the post, is I actually made a document. I don't take it with me anymore because I've got it burned into my head. But when I was brand new running appointments, I just got into Excel and I just made me my own custom questionnaire form. That way, when I was in a home, I wasn't forgetting important questions like, how much is your, you know, what type of equity do you have in your home? What do you think your home's worth? How long did you finance it for? What is your payment? You know, what happens to this money if Mary loses John and John loses Mary? And what would you like to happen? And you know, any type of other coverages out there that you own and control, and the medical questions and the high-risk questions and prescription questions and all of the stuff. And you know, so you're setting this up through this structure, and by the time you get to the end of this, they're done. They're done. You know, they're going to say, well, I want to think about it. What do we got to think about? Listen, you've been thinking about it. That's why you filled out this form. That's why I'm here. You know, um, people, listen, there's nothing attractive about insurance, right? Nobody goes around bragging about having a $5 million insurance policy, right? But people show off their new cars all over Facebook and Instagram, right? People show off the new house they just bought. People, show off their steak dinners and all this other stuff, right? Because that stuff is cool and it's attractive and all that fun stuff. But man, having an insurance policy, that's just adulting, right? And most of us would agree that most of the time adulting's not really that fun, right? You got bills and you got stress and all that stuff. So, a lot of times these guys are going to be looking for really any reason they can to get away from it and put it off. And what eventually happens, guys, is that they put it off to the point that the next time you talk to them, they're 75 with no cash flow and they can't afford anything, and now it's too late to really properly plan. And so I tell all my clients, I tell every one of them this. Guys, listen, I'll do for you whatever you want, but I can leave you as I found you, or I can leave you better than I found you. How would you like me to proceed? Now, anybody with half a brain is going to say, well, I want to be better. Okay, I can take care of that, and it's going to cost $77 a month. I can do everything but pay the bill. I've come to your house. I'll even do the application. You don't got to get up out of your seat. You don't got to go anywhere. I've come to you. It don't get any easier than that. So, if they need to think about, well, what do we need to think about? And guys, listen, you're going to get some crap answers here. Well, I don't have any money. Well, that's fine. We'll set it up to start coming out next month, right? The one that I personally love is when you're doing your appointments, and you find out that maybe there's a wife involved, or a girlfriend, or a boyfriend, or a husband, or a significant other, or whatever, and they say, well, now so and so won't be home. Okay, is so and so, and I will always ask, because I'm not going to waste my time on a one-legged up. I'm always going to ask, is so and so part of the decision-making process? Well, no, she's just my girlfriend, or he's just my boyfriend, or whatever. Okay, all right, fine. Hey, that's fine. You get to the house, and they say, well, I need to talk it over with my girlfriend. Well, Mr. Customer, Mr. Client, when we spoke 2 days ago, you said that she wasn't a part of this decision-making process. So what you're doing here is you're not necessarily calling the client out on fibbing or telling you a lie, but what you are doing is you're holding them accountable. Because they're going to know that they said that. And you're going to know they said that. So, you've got to be ready to overcome this crap that they're going to throw at you. Because, listen, it's hard. Like, let's don't kid ourselves. What we're doing is hard, right? It's hard, buying the lead, right? It's hard sitting down and calling those leads. And it's hard getting your face kicked in, or they don't answer the phone, or you show up and they're not home. That's hard. But what's even more frustrating is to go through all of that, and you get in front of a client and they give you some bonehead objection that somebody like me with 10, 15 years of sales experience could overcome, but you couldn't because you wasn't prepared. So, listen, you walk up into a house and the guy's 77 years old and COPD and congestive heart failure and still smoking and all this other crap. Listen, there ain't nothing I could do for the guy. There ain't nothing you could do for the guy. There ain't nothing that anybody else could do for the guy, because his situation is going to be his situation. There's nothing that you can do there. But if they're throwing out bonehead objections to try to shoot you out the door, then that's on you. Because, I'm going to tell you, unless they are just blatantly telling you no and buzz off and get out of my house, unless they're just straight up telling you no, that's code for tell me more. And you've got to keep pushing and pushing and pounding and pounding and pounding. Because if you don't, you're going to run out of money. That's just all it is to it. You're going to run out of money. You've got to be persistent in your structure. Okay? You've got to be persistent in that. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is the picture that you paint for your client. Make sure it's the picture that they see. Meaning, everybody talks a big game until it's time to play a big game, right? Excuse me. Everybody's about it until it comes time to be about it. And if you tell your client you're going to do something, do it. Do it. Because, it's 2018, but there is still very much people out there who still truly believe that your word is your bond. Especially a lot of your final expense leads. Okay, because those people are 60, 70 years old, and they grew up in a time where you didn't need to sign a contract. A handshake was good enough. Okay? I wrote a $2,200 premium 6 weeks ago to a lady with a Forester's policy, and we got to talking, and the lady loves moonshine. Oddly enough. And, we're in Kentucky, so it's, moonshine bourbon. That's kind of our thing over here. And I said, hey, I don't have any right now, but I've got a connection to some moonshine. I can get it in all kinds of flavors. I can get White Lightning. I can get the strong stuff. I can get you whatever you need. And so I told her, I said, listen, I don't know when it will be, but when I get some in, I'll give you a quart. What flavor would you like? And she told me. Well, guess what? I was out of town for the weekend, but I got my juice on Friday, and I took it to her yesterday. I was a man of my word. It cost you nothing, zero, to do what you say you're going to do. And what you've got to understand is that when you do for a client what you tell that client you're going to do, then they're going to tell their friends. They're going to tell their family. And guess what? The more you do that kind of stuff, the less you've got to spend on leads. You don't got to spend $30 on a lead anymore. You don't got to spend $40 on a lead, $50 on a lead, right? You don't really have to worry about that. And here's the other thing, guys. It makes your life easier. Because Tammy has told her sister Susie about Kenny and how Kenny is nice and Kenny is professional and Kenny is knowledgeable and Kenny's not pushy and Kenny is very respectful and yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir. Well, guess what? Susie is already put at ease because Kenny really isn't a stranger. Because somebody that Susie knows, loves, and trusts has referred this person to her to also take care of a problem that he was able to help her sister with. Okay? So, this one's a long one. I'm running up on 20 minutes. But listen to me. Watch those videos. Do yourself a favor. Watch those videos. Make notes of those videos. And so what I done when I first got started was I wrote down the questions, and I kind of used it as a cheat sheet so that when I went through, when I actually got the person on the phone I was trying to schedule the appointment with, I just went through the questions just like Rob did, just like Mike did, just like them guys did. No problem, on and on and on, and just worked through it until I got the appointment. And then, like I said, I'll watch those Rob Jones, or not the Rob Jones videos, I'm sorry, but the Bill Martin videos on how to run the appointment. Same thing. I watched the video, and I wrote down statements as far as, if you're dealing with somebody with a lot of health problems, how you're talking about how this money can buy time. I wrote down all of those statements until I got them memorized. I put them into my presentation, and I'm now to the point where obviously I don't need that questionnaire anymore. But like I said, I'm happy to help you, but you've got to get the structure going. Some of you may have it, and I guarantee if you do, the numbers show it. But get that structure down, and when you do, you're going to be ready to rock and roll, and you're going to be in that leaderboard too, and you're going to be getting those. Congratulations, you were this number submitted this month with this much premium. I mean, I've gotten them for the last, 2, 3, 4 months. I don't remember. Pretty much as soon as I went full-time / part-time, right? I quit my full-time job, and I would love to tell you I'm doing this full-time, but I mean, I'm running maybe 2 days a week or 3. I mean, I'm not running much. So, and I'm cracking the leaderboard every month. So, as always, if I can be of help to you, let me know. Hope you all have a good one. Make some money today. See ya.